Hey there. This morning I want to address three very common myths, common misperceptions about why it is that you may not be getting the speaking opportunities that you want and that you deserve. So let me first put some context around this. So I have been asked at the end of October to go out to San Francisco and join the Association for Women Surgeons annual meeting and provide a kickoff to their Signature Speakers Series, which is an amazing, innovative program. This is the first year that the Association for Women Surgeons is doing this. It's an innovative program that is intended to take really successful mid-career surgeons who have published very well, published widely, but are not getting the speaking opportunities that are necessary to really grow their careers and move them ahead. So they are, by application only, 10 have been selected, and they're going to enter this pilot, and they've asked me to be the speaker coach. So I'm really excited about this. And in doing that program, I have asked for some input from the 10 folks who have been chosen to be in the Signature Speaker Series, what kinds of challenges they have. And that has helped me to understand what kind of questions I might address at the kickoff. Now, because it's only 10 people and it's only women and it's only surgeons, I am also going to be kicking off at the same time a special cohort of the Speaking Prescription course. So if you're interested in that, pop on over to the website. It's rxseries.live/courses, and you can find the information there. But in the meantime, let me look at these three questions that sort of bubbled up to the top as I was asking people about their challenges in getting speaking opportunities. And one of the things that I realized is that, let me check my notes here, that people have all kind of share the same common reasons that they believe they aren't getting the speaking opportunities. But I think there is something else going on. So I'm going to dig into that today. So the first misconception is that someone else is already doing it. This is extraordinarily common. I don't know if this is tied into sort of the women in medicine and sort of pervasive imposter syndrome that many people seem to have. But the fact that somebody else is already speaking on your topic is really not a bad thing. If anything, I believe it's a good thing. Why is it a good thing? Because, you know, rising tides lift all boats, right? If you had something that's totally new and novel and innovative, that's super. But the challenge that goes along with that is that you have to explain to people from the beginning, you know, every time, unpacking kind of from square one, what it is that you're talking about, why it is important, and if it's novel, it hasn't been done before, why they should care about it. And that takes a lot of time and effort to, you know, to get people to understand it, to get people to arrive at sort of a common ground of understanding before they are going to want to buy in to the idea that you ought to be on stage talking about it, or that they should take up some grand rounds time or some conference time on that topic. So frankly, the fact that someone else is already doing it is good news for you. It's also good news because, as you know, no one is the same, right? No two people are the same. So even if that person who's already out there killing it, rocking it, handed you their slide deck and said, here it is, you don't go deliver the same talk. Even if you wanted to, it's literally impossible. I mean, we're just different people with different personalities, different ways of expressing ourselves. We connect with different audiences. So there is enough to go around. And I frankly think that when you have something new and exciting and innovative and important, that the more people who are doing it, the better, because that really basically increases the market demand for something that neither one of you, you know, none of you in your individual selves could possibly meet all of that demand. So it's a good thing. So the fact that someone else is already out there is not the reason that you aren't getting the opportunities. That's just not. What it might be, though, is closely linked, and that is your own professional visibility. So professional visibility around the topic area might be low. And if that's the case, that's an easy fix. So that's myth number one. It's really not that someone else is doing it. And in fact, that's a benefit. The problem is more likely that people don't think of you when they think of that topic because your professional visibility in that area is low. And that could be related probably not to having done work in the area, but just that work not being top of mind. People don't know about it. They haven't seen it. Maybe they aren't seeing it enough online. Maybe they don't realize you've been doing that work. You know, we're always very deep into what we're up to. And so you think, well, everyone must know that I spend all my time doing this because I have so much energy and passion around it. But the reality is the world is too noisy and people are too busy, so they don't know what you're doing. So professional visibility and deliberate strategies to enhancing that is much more likely the reason why you aren't being asked to speak on a topic rather than that someone else has it covered. That's almost never the case. All right, number two, no one is interested in your topic. Now, I don't know your topic, so I can't say this, 100% certainty, but I think that's probably not true as well. More likely is that people don't either understand your topic or they're unsure of the correct audience, or, and this one's a biggie, they're unable to communicate it. If they are unable to communicate it to a planning committee, even if that is just a committee of one, like say they're in charge of the Grand Rounds program and they want to say to, their boss, I want to invite this person to speak. If they can't succinctly say who you are and what you speak about and why that would be relevant to the department, that may not fly. It's much more likely that a person who can be communicated about in that way is going to get those spots. And so if you have something that's new and exciting, or even if it's not new, but it's complicated and sophisticated, these things are actually important for us to do some deliberate message mapping around. This really pulls from the strategies of professional branding, which helps you to take what you do and what you're going to deliver and put it into terms that people will understand right away that they need that and that it's relevant to them in some way, right? And so that is more likely the case, that not that people aren't interested, but they either don't understand it themselves, or they aren't sure who it would be appropriate for, or they aren't sure how to go back and communicate it. So they've had a great conversation with you, or maybe they've even heard you speak and they think, wow, this person's incredible. What they have to offer is really great. But if they can't communicate it back to the sort of planning group for the meeting, or back to their internal stakeholders around a Grand Rounds conference or whatever the case, then you're much less likely to get that spot. I'll pause just for a sort of pretty simple example in my own career. When I first started being asked to speak about social media and digital strategy for doctors, a lot of that just kind of came out of the blue. I was actually speaking about patient safety and decision making at the time, and which I still do. But people started to ask me, I see that you are online. Can you come talk to us about that? And of course, the answer was, sure, I can. But what do you want to know? And in developing that area of my career, there was a big difference between, people who already knew what they wanted. So they might come and say, can you give us specific strategies for physicians on Twitter, for example? Or can you give us specific risk mitigation strategies for physicians online? Compared to people who knew they wanted to know about the topic, but they didn't really know what they wanted to know, in which case I had to kind of serve up on a platter, here are some options, right? I could talk about, the 6 most important reasons that physicians and their departments and organizations should be active online. Or I could talk about, the 5 biggest pitfalls and risk mitigation strategies for those. If I had an audience that was already savvy, we might be able to pull that all into one talk. And certainly if people wanted to get deep into, YouTube for physicians, or, Facebook for physicians, or Twitter, we could do that too. But it's really important to know the audience, because if they haven't already as a group decided that they do indeed want to be active on social media, and they already understand the benefits, and they already understand the potential applications and the risks, then we can start talking about specific strategies to use on a particular platform. But if they aren't there yet, then they can't. So in the beginning, when people wanted to have this as part of a conference, and they would go to their organization committees and they would say, hey, we really want to have a talk about, Twitter for doctors. That sounds really not that scholarly. It wasn't very compelling. Much more important was to talk about concepts that people could understand, like risks and benefits of an effective online presence. And then people didn't realize that you can accomplish a lot of that via Twitter. So that would come out in the talk, but that wasn't the selling point, because there was a time when there wasn't a chair in the country that was interested in knowing about Twitter for doctors, right? So hopefully that's a little more concrete example of what I mean by, it's not that no one's interested in your topic, but they either don't know how to explain it, or they don't know the application to their own audience, or they don't know how to communicate it to others. And you can help them with that. That will get you your speaking opportunities. All right, let's shift to the third one here. This is really common. Everyone says it. It may or may not be true. I don't know, but it's probably not the reason that you aren't getting asked. You think you're not good at it. Now, if you think that you're not good at public speaking, you're obviously not alone. Most people think they aren't. Frankly, most people, I guess, aren't, and most people hate it. So if you shy away from it, you don't want to do it, and you feel like you're not good at it, and then you may not be good at it. But I would offer this anecdotal view that you probably share. You don't have to be a great speaker to get invited to speak. We've all been in the audience for listening to people who are geniuses in their work, but not particularly great speakers. We've all had that experience. And so it leads me to believe that being a great speaker is not necessarily what gets you invited, although it is what gets you invited back and what gets you invited to bigger and bigger stages. But being a mediocre speaker doesn't really disqualify you. You know that, because there's a lot of people who are very successful along in their careers, and it's not their first time at the podium, also not that great of speakers. So that's not the reason you aren't being asked. And also, you can learn these skills. So If you hate it and you want to shy from away from it, and you are not interested to learn it, and you don't really care about all the benefits for your career growth, for your professional visibility, for your success, and your ability to kind of move into leadership, shift around, there are so many benefits to being a well-developed public speaker. But if you're not interested in all that, I mean, that's super. Everybody to each their own, right? You don't need to do that. If you are interested, but you feel like you aren't good enough at it, I just want you to know that these things are learned. And I don't mean learned in the sense that, you learn how to give an outline, create an outline for a talk. You learn how to avoid your ums and ahs. You guys know that this is totally unscripted, completely spontaneous. And I will have some ums and ahs and stumble over my words because, I haven't practiced this. This is like a one-time shot. And it's live on video, and I'm not even worried about that because I know that you guys like to connect with me as if we're having a conversation. I don't even care about that part. If this were a TED Talk, it would be different. It would be totally different. Okay, those higher level pro skills about how to really engage with people, how to make connections to the audience, how to keep them engaged, how to really command the stage in a way that's different from just being sort of, comfortable, being able to be up there without hands shaking and strange body tics and stuff like that, being able to speak without your voice cracking. Those are sort of basics, but there are ways to really take your stage presence up, your ability to connect, your ability to deliver a really powerful and engaging, not only intro, but sort of a periodic pullback, right? So that people don't get lost if you have 45 minutes or an hour or sort of a longer time frame to speak, and to be able to answer questions in a sort of facile way, and to be able to make meaning in your talk with call to action and something that is helpful. Because of course, the entire purpose of being on stage is not to tell everyone everything that you know. It's to tell them something that is helpful to them so that they can go forth and do something else that they are interested in their professional and personal lives, that they can do it better or in a different way or have a different viewpoint, right? And that is what you are delivering. That's the gift from the stage that you are giving to them. So it's not about you having to know everything. It's about you being able to connect, being able to deliver, and being able to send people off ready to go and do something. So by way of recap, 3 common reasons that I've been hearing as we're prepping up for the American Women's Surgeons Signature Speaker Series is that people are afraid they aren't getting invitations because they're not that great of speakers. That's never been a disqualifier, although if you are a good speaker, that will be better. Because no one's interested in their topic. I don't know if they are or they aren't, but I think that more likely it's one of those other things I mentioned. They don't understand it. They don't know if it's applicable to their audience, or they don't know how to communicate it to the other stakeholders in order to get you on the program. And then third, as we started off, you think, well, someone else already has it covered. Someone's already out there doing it, killing it. And yes, they are, but that's no reason you shouldn't. In fact, I think it's probably pretty helpful, especially if you're doing something that's novel and new. It is good to have other people out there waving that same flag. It's great. So instead, it's some of these other problems underneath: professional visibility, lack of message mapping and tight professional branding, and a communication inability. And then, of course, the actual speaking itself can be polished and can be really taken up to another level. So those are the 3 myths. Those are not the reasons that people aren't asking you. Next, I'm going to cover, at the next video, I'm going to cover reasons why speaking is so important, speaking skills so important for your career. I alluded to that in the middle of this video and talked briefly about it, but it's not just that you want a bunch of speaking opportunities on your CV, or that is sort of the way you demonstrate and grow your national and international reputation. There are many, many, many more applications of great speaking skills as your career trajectory progresses and as opportunities open up to you in really ways that you may never have thought of before. So if you're interested again, and you're not one of those 10 women speakers in the Signature Speaker Series, please go to RX Series. So that's rxseries.live/courses. Take a look. The speaking prescription will open at the end of October along with this kickoff. So go check that out, and be back on my blog and on my Facebook page to look around for other existing resources about professional public speaking. And of course, I'm going to be back here all leading up to that kickoff in October on other topics about speaking for physicians. So that's it for now. I hope to see you guys next week, same place, pretty much same time, Tuesdays usually, and the blog comes out on the same day. All right, that's it for me. Bye for now.